He was gonna try to do it via remote, but he didn't.
I think we can go ahead and get started.
Wasn't sure.
Okay, we're gonna get started, guys. Let's, guys and gals, let's rise for the pledge, and I've asked Doug to lead us in a word of prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's bow our heads. Loving Lord, just help us to follow the way of your life when you were on earth. Show us whom we can serve, and let us serve with humility. And this we ask, amen.
Amen.
Yeah, so I got it right here.
Okay, I'm not sure whether Stan's gonna be able to join us remote or not. If he does in a little bit, that'll be great.
I know Ethan sent him the link, so if he's able to.
If he's able to join, he'll come in, but if not, I think you're stuck with Doug and I for today. So, got the minutes from, April 8th.
And there was one change that I put the regular appointment under, building and planning instead of
Okay.
other matters.
Okay, good
Yeah.
deal. So you made that
And-
change?
Yep.
And other than that, change, which is made, I see no others, so,
Okay.
Steve, you don't have a problem, I'll move that we accept the minutes.
Motion approved, I'll second that, so that motion passes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark will be down.
Yep, okay.
Tony, what else have you got for us this morning?
I have an Eastern Alliance workers' comp claim in the amount of $2,428.22. 24/28/22,
What's that? I didn't get that. 24/20.
24/28/22,
What is that?
same as my measurements.
Workman's comp. I move, we accept the workman comp claim for $2,428.22.
I'll second that motion. That motion passes.
Oh, can you sign that also?
Gotcha.
I forgot to stamp that. Okay, and then we have the Allied weekly health insurance claims. And those are in the amount of $67,550.81, $67,550.81. I verified the claimants. Medical was $26,494.39. Prescription $42,052.47. Then we had a couple of voids that took off the amount a little bit for a total of $67,550.81.
Do we accept the, medical claims as well as prescription and other for $67,550.81?
Second that motion. That motion passes.
Then we have the accounts payable claims, which you should have received via email.
Right.
Those are in the amount of $685,219.75. One of the big things on there was Extension Office and Purdue contract. That's a pretty good size one.
Yeah.
And we
Is
had,
that an annual?
yeah.
It's an annual.
Okay.
And we have Quality Correctional Care. That's fairly big. So there were a few
Right.
big ones on here. So anyway, $685,219.75.
Move that we accept the accounts payable for $685,219.75.
Second. Motion passes.
Okay, the final thing, I also sent this to you via email. And it would be the monthly report from the clerk, Shelley Bright. If you would like to enter that into the record.
Move that we accept Shelley Bright's monthly report.
Second. Motion passes.
Okay, I think there are other things later, but I think that's gonna be Mark on one and Shannon on the other, so I think I'm done with my stuff.
Very good. Thanks, Tony. Moving on to our county engineer. Nate, what have you got for us?
Okay.
Good morning.
Like it's raining outside, so we'll stay in
I
here.
don't want it to rain, I gotta mow tomorrow.
Good morning, Jim. Hey, so a couple different items. First, we have the 2025 HMA project. That's the section of 300 North, doing the asphalt overlay between 27 and 700 West. I am requesting your approval on the contract, the bid from Brooks Construction. They've turned in their payment and performance bonds. The total bid price on that contract is $1,159,332. Steve, you'll have that in, there's 2 copies of it in the binder clips. It'll be at the back end of it. You can sign it after the meeting if you need to. Just requesting a motion and approval for that agreement.
I don't have a problem with that. That is the one that goes, if you went straight west all the way to Highway 1 past Lancaster School, the old Lancaster.
Yep, so that would tie in, it goes on the north side of Craigville and it goes on the north side of the Lancaster, middle. or
You have any
elementary
problem with
school
this,
there.
Steve?
So that's a good connector road for us.
My,
so.
my understanding is that that road is traveled pretty heavily, so it makes sense to improve that.
That's right, the road I bounce on when I go to Pleasantdale to church.
Okay.
There you go.
How many, from 27 to 700, how many stops would there be? Is there any?
Oh, that'd be,
One?
Just one at.
Rather no.
Right, 400. Yeah.
Okay, I move that we accept Nate's request for approval.
Second, motion passes.
next item is the just an update on my 2025 small structure projects. I don't have a firm start date from either Ish Excavating or Fleming Excavating on the set of 5 or 6 projects we have. I am hoping for something early this spring. I know that Ish had done some locates for his, but he hasn't notified me yet on when the start is. I bring it up because it's very possible with planting season getting ready to start that some of these may go under construction. So I just wanted to make people aware of those. If they happen to fall under their schedule that they can get started on them, that's great for us, and it may be an inconvenience to the landowners around them. None of them are going to be very long durations, but I just want to at least make people aware that if you see paint marks out there, it's a possibility that we're looking at trying to start messing with your lives, unfortunately. But then moving on from there, on the bridge asphalt wedge and level, I know I mentioned to you requesting permission to seek quotes for that work. I did receive the quotes on Friday of last week. All 4 contractors that were invited to submit did submit pricing. You should have a copy of the bid tab of what we received. The low quote was provided by KBL Transport out of Portland, Indiana. They also have a burn office, so that's where they'll probably be doing most of their work out of there. They quoted all 5 locations for $20,050. If you're satisfied with that quote by KBL, I just ask for your permission for me to approve that quote, and I'll send that notice out to them later today.
That looks pretty reasonable. Did that number surprise you?
I was hoping for about $7,500 a location. It's real tough to estimate these because really you're paying by location.
Yeah.
When you look at the pricing, as you notice, I just subtotaled all of them. Once a contractor came up with a number for the worst location, they just applied that across the board as a lump sum for each one.
Okay.
In conversation with one of the contractors, they would prefer to do it as lump sums with some general quantities. It's just say, here's what I'm expecting you to have, lump sum this. By putting quantities for tonnages or quantities for milling, if that varies, they're afraid that I would only allow them to bid that square footage. So they actually put more money into the mobilization and maintenance of traffic, and that affected the bid price.
Okay.
So their recommendation was in the future, just lump sum those, and then they would have slightly different lump sums between these if they did that at all. So I may put up, and that's just something, a lesson learned. This isn't a major project for us. It's more of a convenience on as far as ride quality for them. So, but no, I'm satisfied with that. As a local contractor, I expected KBL to be low on this. So if you're good with that, then.
So we need an action then to accept KBL bid if Doug, if that's your preference. Second. So that motion passes to accept the bid from KBL for $20,000.
Appreciate that. And that's under the listing for you, Tony. So I'll send you a copy of that once I send that out to the contractor.
Is that, just out of curiosity, is that more than just one? How many?
There's 5 locations.
5 locations?
Yep. So I got 5 locations. Bridge 1, which is 650 west, north of 11 north. Bridge 43, this is 500 north over the Holt House ditch. That's just east of 400 west. The other one is Bridge 65. That's on 400 north over the Borum Run. That's just west of 27. That's one we had groundhogs digging that up. That's what that one's being done for. Bridge 128, that's 300 east over the Wagley Faro ditch. That's just north of 218. And then the last one is Bridge 169. That's County Road 1200 south over the Limberlost Creek. That's 0.2 of a mile west of 27. So those are just, you've either got humped up asphalt or chip seal, either from groundhog patching and repair. It's one ride quality, and it's just gonna be a little safer travel.
So this
for
is
the
just
public.
that approach
Yeah.
that where the road meets the bridge structure.
So where
That-
you've got that change of chip seal and asphalt to concrete, it's gonna be an area no longer than this table, the
Yeah.
width of the
Yeah.
roadway.
Is KBL, is that part of LaFever?
Yep,
That's
Mark
what I thought.
Lefevre would be
Okay. Yeah.
is my point
Get
of
it.
contact
Yeah,
there.
you do
So,
well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
thank you.
Nate, do these need to go back to?
I'll pick those up afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Brad, come on up. Let's have Paul busy this morning, huh?
Yep.
I didn't hand these out. Yeah, Paul's back at the shop working on a few pieces of equipment. We're trying to get ready to go. We did get our first load of oil in today, so we can start total patching. We've been out winter mixing for a couple months, but now we can total patch. A better product. More durable. It's a hot product.
Yeah.
All right, so for our monthly draws for the month of April. The MVH. $306,101.18. $306,101.18.
Now, is there some legislation that's going to give you more flexibility on MVH funds in the future?
Yeah, so right now it's 50-50 between the normal and the restricted, which the restricted has to be used for preservation, and just on the roads. Part of this bill that looks like it's gonna pass is it will be able to use it 60-40, but there are conditions that go along with that. Like you have to make certain pays a rating, which is how we rate all our roads. It's, I think that they changed, it was a 7, I think they changed it to a 6. So you have to be an average of 6, and you can't have a certain number that are like rated at 2 to be able to use it that way. Otherwise, you still have to use a 50-50.
But it's not, even if the bill passes, it's not gonna change much of the way you conduct
Well,
business, is it, or will
no,
there be some?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Okay, well, you wanna
Well,
accept both
we-
at each same time?
yeah, we'll
Okay.
do,
yeah,
on the
yeah,
other side.
Street.
Is a local road and street. For the month of April, $44,264. $44,264.
So I can fairly consistent from year to year. I move that we accept both of the, local road and street and MVH report.
Second, motion passes. So just a few other notes. We're gonna talk a little bit about our road conversion from stone roads to chip and seal and the process. Is that we accept the petitions until June 1st. And then at that point, we present them to the commissioners and you guys will decide whether we put them on our list or not. And so we now ask that every landowner along that stretch of road agrees to give us an additional 10-foot right of way so we can improve the drainage and widen the roads. And like I said, those are due by June 1st.
Did we receive one or two of those last year?
Yes.
And what's the status on
Yeah,
that?
so that's the other thing. So as part of the process, everybody needs to agree. And then we have, the attorneys do the legal paperwork, all has to be recorded.
Okay.
Then the utilities got to get moved. But right now, we have 2 miles that have all been recorded. Utilities are just about done being moved.
Okay.
We are really hoping to start on that here in the next month or so.
What road is that?
400 south from 550 west to 700 west. And then we have another half-mile section at 500 south from 500 to 550 west. We were waiting on one landowner, the last I knew, to get the paperwork back so it can be recorded. And then we can have the utilities move ahead on that one. And then we also have 2 miles over on 400 West that I know all of them aren't recorded yet, so people haven't gotten their paperwork returned. But then another mile, 600 East between 350 North and 450 North. So we have quite a few miles in the process. The 2 miles right now is like, I mean, within days of, we could go on it.
And that's 400 South.
Correct.
That's planned for this summer for sure.
Yes, yeah.
And 500 South is
If we get the one
close.
landowner, yeah, if we get the one landowner to get their recorded paper back and get it reported, we can have the utility companies move there.
In 400 West and 600 West, those requests have been sent out to the landowners,
And
but have
yes,
not
they
been
are
returned.
getting some of the stuff back in
Okay.
reported, but there's quite a few that haven't yet.
Okay.
So yeah, there is, we actually have quite a few in the works. I'm excited. And it is just a lengthy process. You wouldn't think it would be, but by the time you get all the legal paperwork done and everything recorded.
Yeah.
and
Now,
utilities moved,
what's the estimated cost of a road conversion from stone to chip and seal per mile?
So when we do that, you know, we go in, we replace any pipe that needs replaced,
Right.
widen them,
Right,
and we'll put at least a foot of stone on to build a good base. So it's a rough 250,000.
per mile?
Yeah. And there again, that just depends on how the road lays, the condition of the pipes.
Stand on that.
Okay.
And, if these projects go through, approximately how many miles of gravel road do we have left in Adams County?
So right now we have 106 miles. So if you take, that'd be 2, 4, 5, take about 5 or 6 off of
So it'd
that.
be right at 100 miles.
Yeah.
of gravel road.
Yep.
About 155.
No, 100, it was 106 total.
Oh, 106.
Yeah.
106.
106. Yes.
Yeah.
So about 100.
Yeah, about 100.
And you know, we're, hopefully other people will start catching on to this and we start getting more
Yeah.
petitions in.
Well, there's some stone roads in Adams County that'll never get chipped over, so. Yeah, okay, well, you know, I can remember one time years back, we were doing anywhere from 15 to 17 miles a year.
Yep.
That's been a long time ago,
It's been a few years from what I hear.
but hey, chipping away at it.
Yep. So then one of the other things is just a reminder, dust control. We will be accepting the applications for dust control until May 15th. And also buggy plates that'll be our last day to sell them is May 15th. And as of this morning, we've sold 978.
So that's about half-ish of what we expect to sell?
We normally do about 3,700,
Okay, so not even half.
not even half. And usually what happens is, you know, a lot
Get
of
the
people
last in.
last couple of
That's
weeks,
what I
we're gonna
thought.
get hammered.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the one other thing I have is, you know, Paul and I sat down and we also met with Steve and we talked about our plans that we have in the works for the next 5, 6 years. And we actually put it down on one paper. And so I thought, you know, we handed that out to you guys. Paul emailed the chip seal and the paving map. And so what I thought is maybe if you guys want that and then, you know, maybe you can take it in and we can talk if you want to discuss it next Tuesday. That way, but you can look at it more and study it.
Right.
And if you want to discuss it now, that's fine too, but there's quite a bit of information there.
Yeah, I appreciate Paul and Brad's willingness to sit down with me, but we had kind of a conversation yesterday. Okay, here's kind of where we're at today and here's where we think the needs are. But then my question is back to them was if you had the opportunity to kind of take a few steps back and vision the very best county transportation network that we could devise based upon our demographics and the needs that we have, the various needs we have throughout the county, what would that look like? And then do we begin to orient these improvements toward accomplishing that vision of the best network that we could have? So that's the challenge I pushed back to those guys and said, take some time and stare out the window and think, okay, if I had a blank piece of paper, here's the way I really would like to see this transportation network evolve. So that was my challenge to them. I know we've got a lot of opportunities to make roads better. I know that there's a need to have some roads that are probably that carry a lot more traffic and are improved over some other roads that don't carry so much traffic. So that's always the challenge that these guys have, is how do we allocate those scarce resources, spread them out over 654 miles of road in the county. And everybody wants their road to be the best road in the county. So you're not going to keep everybody happy, but thinking about the whole traffic pattern and how people traverse through our county, what's the best use of those dollars? So obviously, those are the challenges that you have and that we have when we think about how to allocate those dollars.
Yep, that's correct. And like I said, we do appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, that was
Well,
great.
it's
That was
nice
great
that-
conversation.
The community crossings has allowed us to do
Oh my
More
goodness,
roads
what a blessing
and-
that
Oh my
was.
goodness, without community crossing,
years
yeah,
past.
it has been a huge blessing.
Huge blessing, as
Yeah.
long as it continues. On the 000s that you got for 26 and
Yep.
27. Okay, once you get 000 is very highly troubled.
Yep.
Once you get that done, is there any plans perhaps to paint those, that
Yes.
stretch?
Yes, on our main roads, like 000, Winchester, Piqua, and Minnick, yes, we do keep those paint striped.
Right.
And on this list here, they're actually, we are doing Winchester again this year and all the railroad crossings and then 1050, 1100 south. So yes, once 000 gets paved, and that'll be, we try to do that pretty quick, once it's paved. And honestly, we'll probably include that on that one in the bid.
Yeah.
That way it gets paved, it's painted. So it doesn't set too long.
And Stan, I see Stan's joined us. Welcome, Stan. I know that you and I had a conversation just briefly kind of about the durability of the striping that we've been doing on our roads. And so I mentioned that to Brad and Paul yesterday. And I think Brad, maybe I'll just let you recap that conversation and kind of where you think the quality of the striping needs to go for our roads.
Yeah. So we actually this year, when we bid out the paint striping, we went up a step in quality of paint. And the top of the line is thermoplastic. It's more expensive, it lasts longer, but with the type of traffic that we have, especially in the south part of the county, it still wouldn't last. It might last a little longer, but not enough to make the cost worthwhile. So yes, this year we asked them to go a step up in the paint, and hopefully we can get a couple more years out of it.
Well, the other thing is, even though it's nice to get that Brooks job done, you're still doing 75 or 80 miles of chip and seal every year, and it's
Right.
necessary to keep those roads.
Correct. So, and that's to go to another point.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about that. That was an interesting conversation
Yeah.
yesterday too.
So, Doug, you weren't here, but last year, all the trouble we had with our distributor,
Right.
and we got shorted about 40 miles on what we wanted to do. So we've tacked that onto this year. And so this year, we're gonna try and do 100 miles at least of chip seal to make up for last year. And the other thing a lot of people don't realize, your road got paved 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it's still a nice looking road, but they do start cracking. You may not be seeing potholes and
Yeah.
breaking apart, but they start cracking. So that's why when we come back in and chip seal a road,
A paved
that,
road.
a paved road that was paved, when we come back and chip seal it a few years later, it's to help preserve that and reseal those cracks up. So that is why, and I understand it. You got a nice paved road, it looks good, and we come in and chip and seal it and people are upset. But there is a reasoning behind it to help preserve it even more years.
Are you using 11s on that?
Correct. We went to all 11s.
No matter what, chip and
Yes,
sealed 11s?
across the county.
No
we're going-
9s?
No 9s.
And I saw yesterday the chassis sitting there, but the new distributor that we ordered still won't be available yet this season. It'll be
Correct.
available for next season.
Yes,
So
next season.
we're counting on that repaired distributor to carry us through. Last year, we had to borrow one from Jay County
Yep, and
because
there
ours
again,
broke down.
thankfully, Jay County come up and helped us finish our last few miles.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of relationships we.
But we still won't have that new one yet for this year, but
Not
we'll
this year.
we'll have it for
Next
next year.
Correct. Supposed to be done late fall, early winter.
hopefully.
Well, Brad and Paul had an interesting conversation about, slightly different approach to some of our chip seal roads from a long-term maintenance standpoint. And the reason they're paving roads in Monroe, and the grinder was in front of my house when I was ready to come so they were grinding up the asphalt when I was ready to come, so I had to wait on them to get out of the road and get to the meeting. But anyway, Paul and Brad are exploring an option to mill some of that buggy trough that we end up where it gathers water and creates a real hazard, to remill those portions of the road and basically reuse the millings as more base.
Yep.
And put a new surface on top of that,
Yes.
as opposed to just chip and seal over the old troughs and bumps and bad surface breakdown. And I just thought that was just an interesting conversation. Not ready to go there yet, but
We are exploring the
but you met with a county or had conversation
Yep.
with a county that is doing that and doing that successfully.
Yes.
To kind of re-energize some of these chip seal roads without going the full expense of a wedge and level.
Now, would you have when you pursue that, and that sounds interesting.
Yeah, really.
It really needs done, especially in the
Yeah.
south of 124.
Yeah.
Do you have the necessary equipment that you could do that presently?
No, and because that's part of the other, things
Part of
we've
it.
been exploring is no, we do not.
So would you purchase the equipment or would you contract it out?
If we would purchase it ourselves, long-term, it would definitely,
It'd be a
be
cost.
financially more sound.
Yeah,
And then also at that point, then we can go in, and I think we might have explained that since last winter, we've got spots on roads, like maybe a 10-foot long by 5-foot wide. It's broken up.
yeah.
And to where we could go in anytime we needed to, we saw something like that, we could go in and grind just that spot and rejuvenate that. Where if you have a contractor in, it's kind of hard. We like to hit them on the long runs
Right.
and that kind of
Right.
stuff. So that,
Well, and
yeah.
Brad explained too, that this is work that can be done in some of their downtime
Yes.
when they've got personnel available to do some of this kind of work. So it would be something that could be filler work when other work that they like to do can't be done.
Correct. It's not so weather dependent.
Have you gotten an estimate on cost for that equipment?
No, we went out and visited Marshall County
Okay.
last week, and they had bought a new one. And so they have a used one sitting there, and we spoke to them about it and looked at it, and they haven't told us yet what they would be asking.
Okay.
Because that was the other thing too. We want to sit down and really discuss this, make sure it's gonna be the right fit for us
Well,
and
If it's used, it's used for a reason.
yeah.
Be
Yes.
careful.
They did go though to a different, they went to a self-propelled unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
This is a tow behind unit that they would be.
It goes in the front of a payload.
I'm sorry, it goes in the front of a payloader.
Big unit.
okay.
And we have the right size loader that'll handle it. And so the payloaders actually is the one that moves us. They have had enough success with it. They went to a self-propelled machine, like what Steve saw in front of his house. Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Well, interesting.
It's just something that
Yeah.
I think we just need to keep exploring options.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have really unique,
Damage.
challenges, damage to our roads
Yes.
that most of the rest of the state just doesn't have to deal with.
Yep.
So I think I think there may be a solution out there that we should keep looking for the right solution. Maybe this is it, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys continuing to
good.
poke and prod and try and find a better solution for our roads.
I like the sounds of it. Really do.
Okay.
Stan, any thoughts? How you feeling, buddy?
Hey, I'm alive. I did manage to put clothes on. That was a big positive. So,
Pretty important.
We
No,
appreciate that.
I sure appreciate the conversation. I'm really interested in what we can do to do more reconstruction of our existing roads and improve the through roads, especially into other counties. And so I really appreciate that conversation. The other thing, as far as line painting, One of the things that they brought out, that somebody brought out as an idea at road school last year, I didn't go this year, but one of the counties took one of their old chassis that they were getting rid of and installed painting equipment on their own chassis. And so with a relatively low investment, they are able to reline their roads as needed without having to contract it out. So I don't know if that's an option that we could look into, but that particular county was having real good success with keeping fresh lines on their road too. So, but yeah, I appreciate looking into regrinding and reconstruction as we needed to keep our roads nice and level and smooth. And so thanks for looking into that.
Yep, not a problem.
If you go to Stan's recommendation, make sure you find one driver that can drive straight.
Except-
We've all seen those
except-
videos of stripes going over dead animals on the road.
Except on Winchester Road, then you'd have to find somebody that can drive crooked.
We have any volunteers?
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you. You know, Stan, one of the things that we talked to Brad and Paul about yesterday is roads like Winchester Road, like 000, like maybe it's 500 West, maybe it's 400 West, I don't know which one it is. Identifying those roads that just carry a lot of traffic and making sure that those are priorities for us when it comes to resource allocation, that those high traffic roads are the very best roads that we can put out there. So I think of Winchester Road, obviously that's a road that near and dear to your heart. 000 carries a ton of traffic. Trying to find that north-south connector on the west side of the county, trying to find a good east-west connector that we want to really prioritize when it comes to these expenditures. So again, you mentioned Winchester Road, and I know that's something that we just need to really think about how we improve that. Just number one, due to the fact that it carries a ton of traffic.
And that's the other thing, yeah, also. Stan, since you're not here today, we'll email you the plan. I think Paul emailed you the maps, but I will email you the
Okay.
plan also. So you can look at that for next week.
The other,
Yeah,
the only other
very-
thing is, you know, it's a great thing that we have this community crossings money, but let's not get ourselves into a mode that we are entitled to it because it could
Yeah.
change.
It could stop at any
Yeah.
second. Can.
Yeah.
Yep. All right,
Very
thank you
good.
guys. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate your time. I don't see Rick here. Rick said he had a
Rick
sprinkler,
is,
he had a sprinkler test this morning, I
yeah,
think.
he's
So-
not gonna get done
So
with
he
that till
won't,
noon.
he won't
Yeah.
be here. Ed, have you got anything for us today?
I do just a couple little things. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have property taxes coming in. We've been pretty busy this last week. We're a bit shy of 5% for the year. We find that about a third of our taxpayers are paying the entire year when they come in. So they just kind of want to get it done and over with, and we appreciate that.
God bless them.
Yeah, that works out. All of our payment options, the variable options that we have, different ways that people pay, they're all being utilized and everything's up and working well. Legislation, Senate Bill 1, made it through the House last night and moved on to the Governor Braun's desk. Governor Braun said he will sign it. There were 350 some pages of changes, additions, amendments that passed in the wee hours of the morning. And Governor Braun again said that he would sign it. In my mind, it is not the best legislation. I don't know that it was from day one. Property taxes will go down approximately $300 per taxpayer. Other taxes will go up. So it's one of these type of things. So we will see what happens. Hold on to your hat because there's going to be a lot of people that will not agree to it, but looks like that's where we're at. And then finally, I do have a couple of, or a page of information that I wanted to give you gentlemen, just to look over at your leisure. This is on some stuff that you're working with. and some of the financial things from my office that, could perhaps, help you make some decisions.
Thank you.
But other than that, unless there's any questions, that's all I have for
Yeah,
today.
the only thing, Ed, I'd have to say is, when I was commissioner before, for a lengthy amount of time, you know, our treasurer came in and gave a monthly report. And, you know, I don't mind, I guess, every week something, but you really need to keep it to what's really, really important to us. I mean, your Senate Bill 1 report, I read all about that last night. So I don't mind you being here. Let's just keep it important when you need to be on the agenda. I'd appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Ed. So
Understood.
you be here when you need to be here, okay? You're always welcome.
Yeah.
One of the things that, before you go, one of the things that I've been getting calls on, obviously some people are experiencing an increase in their tax bills and they're concerned about that. I get a few calls on those. So personally, I've been trying to figure out what's causing that increase. Some folks are experiencing increases far in excess of what we increased our budget for the county. And so some of the things that we just have to remember, and maybe I'm saying this more, you know this already and Tony knows this, but maybe for the press, one of the things we have to remember is that county tax bill that Ed and his team sends out really collects taxes not only for the Adams County government, but for all the school corporations, all the towns and cities, all the townships. There are a couple of special taxing units. So if your tax bill goes up, it's not just the fault of commissioners and council of Adams County government. But the other thing that I think we're seeing is the continued reallocation of that tax obligation. There was a change made in the way ag land was assessed for tax purposes and moving some of that tax burden away from, I think I'm seeing businesses more toward the agricultural land and agricultural taxpayer. So I think that shift is continuing to go on. We saw some last year. We see that again this year. So I think that if your tax bill goes up double digits, even though it may feel like that it's the fault of county government, there are a lot of other aspects that play into that. And I'm happy to talk to any taxpayer that has a concern and wants to talk about that a little further. I've gone so far as to have the taxpayer pull their tax bill out. Let's look exactly and see what that is, who's dinging you the hardest and exactly what's happening there. So there's some concern out there for increased property tax bills. I get that. Mine went up double digits and but obviously I don't pay the taxes that nearly some of our taxpayers do. So, understand that that's a concern that we have in county government, how we manage those, how we be good stewards of the taxes that we collect. We only collect what we need and we only spend what we need. But obviously we have obligations that we have to take care of too. As county government, there are things that our taxpayers expect us to be able to do, and we need the resources to be able to do that. So, kudos to Ed and his team for getting those bills out, collecting the money. I know Tony and his team are intimately involved in trying to figure out how those tax dollars come and go. It's kind of a big puzzle to me, but I keep trying to figure out how to put the pieces together in my head. I'm not there yet, but it's a challenge.
Very well said.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Nathan, you're up, buddy. Adams County Regional Sewer District.
Good morning.
All right, how are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Couple things, give you guys some updates on where we're at with, Project 6, which we have submitted to SRF, 1st of April. We did end up, got with Commonwealth to engineer those, 3/4 areas that we are looking at doing. Those areas, are upgrading the line from Monmouth back to the treatment plant. That is a 4-inch. That was the existing one that went out to Monmouth, when Monmouth School was in. It's as much as we've got growth out there on the north side of the county, we need to upsize that line. That line just isn't quite big enough. And to do, it's kind of a 2-for-1 thing on that project. We are looking at going out to Winnekin. And to do that with adding more to the Monmouth line, because that is our main hub that then sends everything to the treatment plant. We have to get funding to do the Monmouth to be able to do the Winnekin.
So you're
project.
talking about the line that goes from the treatment plant to the lift station that sits there in Monmouth? Is that,
Yes,
is
yep,
that the?
that's the main collection system. So Sunnybrook project 4.
Yep.
That gets pumped to Monmouth, all of 900, and then Monmouth itself. So, there's quite a few properties, residents that pump there to get back.
I think it's interesting to think about that. You know, we've talked a little bit about as we expand this and none of us have vision as far as how this thing's gonna go and where we're gonna get developments at. But it's nice to know that there's always that opportunity to go back and say, yeah, we missed it when we sized this one 10 years ago, but we're gonna go back and we're gonna make it bigger so that it can handle the volume that we're adding into this particular section of the system.
Yeah,
So
and that's one of the things there too, is that was an existing line there that we were able
Was
to
it?
utilize when we started project 1 with Monmouth. So that was the existing line that serviced Monmouth community, the school itself, that's what it was taken out there for.
sure.
So we just were able to utilize that. Well, with the growth that we've had with the sewer district, that line for capacity wise and maintenance wise, I mean, that line was put in a long time ago. There's some issues with some air releases that are on the Decatur side of it, with maintaining those. I mean, you take a 4-inch pipe and you put half of an air pocket in there, that's restricting any of the flow coming from the lift station. So, I mean, those pumps are manufactured to do about 120 gallons a minute. Well, with both pumps running, we're pushing about 80 to 95 through our flow meter. So we've got some restrictions in there, and where to find that in a mile, 1.75 miles in pipe to find out where that little air pocket is hard to do.
So you're gonna go from a 4 to a 6?
Yep, and that'll give us plenty of capacity for push and everything else. So, that's kind of the
So
plan there.
what diameter do you have that goes out to Pleasant Mills and Bobo?
That's a 6-inch out there.
Okay, and that's still plenty adequate.
Yep, that's still, I mean, cause we got Bobo, Pleasant Mills, and all of 33 that goes through that line back
To
there.
Lynn Grove is a,
Lynn Grove, it starts as an 8 because of the distance.
right, okay.
So, but we have one lift station in Lynn Grove that has to push it all the way back to, Burn, where we've got a lift station at Bobo that puts it to Pleasant Mills, and then Pleasant Mills back to Arcadia. So we have those, drops in there to be able to push more. The bigger you get, the harder it is to really push all of them the liquids through.
So Lynn Grove on 700, is that from 27 all the way to Lynn Grove, is that actually an 8-inch?
Not all the way. It actually switches over there, just past the school area there.
Right.
It switches, it necks down from there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do believe it's a 6 at the lift station, and then it pumps up to an 8, the rest of the
Now,
way.
do you think the cost from going from a 4 to a 6 from Monmouth back to your site, do you think the cost will be very comparable to what it was to put the 4-inch in to begin with?
Oh, no, not at all. Cause we're gonna be actually using force main pipe for that. That is all like an SDR pipe, SDR 21 pipe. We had a gentleman out there that decided to start digging. When that project happened, a gentleman passed away. The house was never hooked up. The bank owned it. Nobody lived there. Somebody has purchased it now, and they went to hook it up. Well, they never called in locates or anything like that. They hit that main line. We had water shooting 8-10 feet out of the ground. So we had to shut the lift station off, put a repair coupler. I mean, and when you break plastic like that, it just shatters.
So you're saying the cost is gonna be less
No, it'll be more.
to go back?
Well, everything has
Yeah,
gone up.
yeah, I understand, but to put the 6 inch is gonna cost more than originally the 4 inch was.
Yeah,
Okay, so was that gonna reflect on the monthly charge to
No.
people? No?
nope. Because we're getting the funds through SRF, the state revolving fund where we have before. Now we are in the process of doing we just finished up our rate study. Because Decatur has raised our rates and along with Bern, it's not just Decatur, but our
Right.
treatment rates went up. We are actually having a meeting next Monday with the finance committee of the sewer board to review that. We got those findings back from Baker Tilly to determine what our new rates should be. I mean, we're kind of at the mercy of Decatur on this when it came to the rates being increased.
And those rates haven't raised since the beginning, right?
So it's been 9 years.
9
since
years.
The
That's
sewer district has stayed at 93.30.
That's good.
So,
And now, I have no problem with your plan at all, believe me, because your board is a very qualified board, and I'd be the last one to micromanage your board. But as, just out of curiosity, you're heading out that way to Sunnybrook, you're heading out to Winnicott. Is there any main reason that you're not taking a look at the trailer park that's out there or on Minnick Road?
it has been presented to them in the past when they first purchased the property. They are IDEM licensed. And when they purchased that property out there, they got their permit reapproved.
Okay,
They did some maintenance out there on their treatment facility out there, and IDEM went ahead and granted them another permit. And because they're already state licensed, we haven't pursued that because I mean, if we go buy them and they don't hook up, I mean, they wouldn't be obligated to hook up because they are state licensed.
Because they have their own treatment plant.
They have their own treatment facility there in the back.
it's been approved.
And it was updated according to items, I mean, because they would have had to update it whenever they did that. Now, that's not to say that they couldn't use sewer, but we would have the option, so when we run out to Winnicott, when we go past 1100 there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that upsized because the line that we stopped there at the end of the line isn't big enough, so we'll just go all the way back to Sunnybrook with the main force main and dump into the gravity system at Sunnybrook. So we'll have that upsized to where if they were to ever in the future have an issue, they then can hook on there at 1100
It's a good plan.
and
It's
be
good
able
plan.
to run.
And I know that particular quadrant or that particular piece of Adams County, there's just, I see houses popping up there all the time, up around 900 and over around 000 and 100, and seems to be a lot of residential development up in that area. So obviously that's a great place that we've got sewer that we can offer those folks. And I know that the desire is there in that particular section.
I've
county.
sold 6 grinders for new construction already in 2025. Where people are building along our lines.
Yeah.
And I actually had a call yesterday where somebody wants to hook to the sewer that they're not. We've got some guys that are running quarter mile, half mile private lines just to have sewer so they can build. So
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the new housing developments that are going in near the South Adams School off of 700 there, they're gonna tie into your line running right down 700 there.
yes, so the board has approved that already. I've sat down with the builder and kind of ran through some different ideas so we can do shared grinders instead of every house having their own. For a maintenance standpoint from the sewer
Right, sure.
district, I mean, I don't want 14 grinders when I can have possibly 7. But it'll work for what they're doing. We had Ben Adams with Commonwealth look over the engineering plans that they submitted. Everything looks good.
And you've got some shared grinders elsewhere in the system.
Oh,
that
yeah,
you're using
yeah.
already.
When we run projects, if the houses are close enough to each other to where a shared grinder would work,
Right.
we definitely want to try to do that just to
Right.
minimize costs of.
Well, that's another example of how having regional sewer available has been able to be leveraged by a developer and say, I can put a housing development here. And it certainly is helpful that regional sewer is available.
And one of the other areas is we're gonna be doing 100 and 200, so out to, so 100 past High Street there. We're gonna be hooking onto that, and then turning down 450,
Okay.
yeah, right along
there, right along
33.
33
Right
there.
along 33. I'm still working with the engineers about trying to maybe loop through that field because we do have a flow meter over on Second Street, which goes out to Arcadia.
Right, Salem Road there.
Yep, to loop all of that around. But yeah, and then we will also be getting out to the transfer station, and then also possibly Golden Meadows if
Yeah.
that's still in the works. So
We've said all along that this was an economic development activity, as well as cleaning up existing environmental issues and whatnot. But I think that's starting to prove out now that really having a sewer system that's available to appropriate areas of the county is allowing for economic development and that wouldn't have been available previously.
And something to remember too, all these areas that we do look at going are all given to us by the health department.
Right.
The health department determines the areas that are needed for sewer, with soils not being the greatest or anything like that. So that is where our direction goes. We're not picking an area to go. We get the recommendation by the health department.
Good. The one further question. Now, if you go out into an area, is there still a certain amount of footage within, if you're close enough to the line, is there still a mandate that someone has to hook up?
So 300 foot is the sewer district's regulations from the line.
Right?
So it's 300 foot from the structure of the house,
Okay,
of the resident itself.
okay,
Now, when previous projects that we were doing, we never sent out letters to anybody that was 305 feet or more off, or 300 feet
right.
off. Well, a lot of those people truly wanted it.
Yeah.
So we start sending it out to everybody. Now they can opt out if they are over that 300 feet. And that's where it would be anybody over that 300 feet. Now the health department has a different regulation on that. And I don't know the exact numbers that they have, but I think it's property lines instead of structure of residence. So they can require it, but the sewer district, we cannot.
Okay, what if the line went out and there was someone within 300 feet and they said, I'm not hooking up?
That's where we would then have to use the statute to,
It's a state statute
It's a
that
state
says you
statute.
must connect.
Yes.
And it don't okay, so that's still in effect. Okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
It's not just a local
no,
ordinance, it's a state
that's a
statute.
state sewer district
That's
statute.
good, that's good.
So,
Okay.
And one other thing while I'm here is, I know the commissioners have been very gracious to the sewer district in the past for funding, to help out. Previously, we were at the 60,000. I know last year, we talked about lowering that down to 50,000. And I'm just here to see if that is still,
What are we doing now, 50 or 60?
I forget what was in the budget. Stan, do you recall what we did last year? Did we do 60 or 50 last year?
We did 60 last year.
I think they left it the same because you said you were still.
yeah, we're still helping out with anybody. I mean, so with the jail itself, we were having issues with the pumps out there. I went ahead and got that taken care of, and I actually got a mission system, SCADA system on that, so I can monitor the pumps from my office now, and I get the phone calls if something happens, because they had some backup issues where it was actually tripping the breaker inside the building. There was no backup system, so I got with Dan, and we got that all squared away to where actually I monitor that daily along with my system that I have.
So would your request be that you stay at the 60, or are you ready to dial back a little bit, or what do you think?
Well, with the increases
dial
of
up.
everything, I would love to keep it at the 60. I truly would, because I mean, the costs of everything is just unreal. We're actually in the process right now of eliminating Project One pumps and panels and switching everything to one system. Those pumps went up to $4,200 a piece. Where when we first started, they were around $1,600. And I can actually replace everything with me and Noah doing them for $4,100 with what we already have in the ground. And that's the new pump, the new panel, everything, to where we can actually monitor leaks and stuff. So
Now, you're doing great. I appreciate the projects you've done and everything. but it appears that the most need is in the northern part of the county. Is there getting to be some needs in the central and south part of the county likewise, other than just the Lynn Grove deal?
Yeah, so we had 10 areas that the health department, gave to us about project areas. One of them was down on 218 that we could stub off of 700, bring north up to 218 and get all those houses in between right there at the cemetery to the west there on 218. I guess one of the big factors is how can we make a certain resident hook in?
Is there 300 feet? That's the mandate, isn't it?
Well,
Well, they've had an issue with homes that do not have flush toilets. Is that the way to put that? Basically, read Amish homes, and there is now an exemption that can be applied for. Correct me if I'm wrong, through the sewer district, that if you do not have basically indoor plumbing,
and you meet all the
and
requirements.
you meet all the requirements, and they're pretty stiff. But you can be exempted if you basically don't have indoor plumbing in the home.
And it states in there flushable toilets.
Okay, flushable toilets.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's sinks, things like that.
Yeah.
So on my end, we have done some of the inspections on those.
Yeah.
And we're just waiting to get everything done to hand it to the next department
Okay, to
see
the
what
health
we need
department.
to do.
Yeah, but that exemption specifically states that it is not binding upon the Adams County Health Department.
Right. It's
State
just
Department
sewer
of Health, or any regulations that regulate on-site septic systems. And so, because the sewer district doesn't regulate on-site septic systems, we can't. And as you know, the legislation on on-site septic systems right now is a mess. And so that's up in the air right now as to what's required, what can be permitted. I think it's written in there now that if you have an engineer design an on-site system for you, then you can put in whatever system they designed. And so right now, it's difficult. So the sewer district's just trying to do what the sewer district does, and that is eliminate on-site septic systems that are failing wherever it can.
Yeah,
And so,
I agree. But down the road somewhere, there'll be some issues that may not be in our tenure,
Yeah.
but guaranteed, if the rural sewer district stays in business, there will be a time when we're gonna be faced with those issues.
I think one of the factors is when you're getting money from the government, they want every house that you go by to hook in. And I don't wanna lose our funding that we've been very fortunate to have
Exactly.
because we're not hooking people up.
Exactly. But sooner or later, we're gonna be faced with that issue.
I don't know.
we specifically went to great lengths trying to get Indiana IDEM and the state health department to get involved in the lawsuit that we had concerning that very issue.
Right.
And they wouldn't do it.
That's sad.
Stan, I know how hard it is when you're sitting up there on a screen to get involved in the conversation. Thoughts? I don't want to leave you out, buddy.
Well, I've always supported the county sewer system for the two reasons of eliminating bad waste into the waterways and also for encouraging development. So, as we extend up north and look for spots that we can accomplish those goals, I'm certainly willing to continue to support that with the same dollar amount we have in the past. And so
I think that's right out of seeded.
Okay. Right.
It is,
So
and
that would be out of our seated plan.
Yeah, the
So-
district right now is
60,000.
the district right now is in the process of reviewing a rate study that we just had done with Baker Tilly and projecting forward. There's gonna have to be a rate increase. We know
Would
that.
would that information be more readily available to us when September comes?
Yeah, actually, we'll have it probably within the next few
I'm
weeks.
hoping by next meeting, we'll have everything ready to go. We are having the meeting next Monday with the finance committee. There's 3 individuals on the board that will be on that finance committee. And then by May's board meeting, I'm hoping, but we're gonna have to have a public meeting, about it and everything else, and we're gonna have, the rate study, there with questions being answered by, Baker Tilly that put it together. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be to where every customer, which we're setting at 1,090 customers right now. So, and with this next project coming on, it's roughly 105 is what we have projected. But, and I will say, we're gonna be going to Williams Elevator and down County Line. I've gotten 2 or 3 phone calls from residents in Allen County that want it. So we've got to get with Allen County to get the approval there, but I mean, they've got a filter bed system that they're paying $2,800 a year to maintain. He goes, I want your sewer.
Yeah.
So that shows that it's not just Adams County that, I mean,
Right.
you got people that are across the road there that say, hey, I want it too.
Well, I'm fully supportive of your efforts, believe me.
Same
Fully
here. Obviously,
supportive.
you guys know, I spent some time on the board and one of the more worthwhile things I did, I think, in my public career was, spend time on that sewer board for all the good work that the sewer district's doing. So I support it too. And I know it's good to have our engineer on that board as well, our county engineer.
Yeah, as one of your appointees on that board, certainly it's, some of the decisions on projects are always difficult. I know Doug, you're bringing up a good question as far as where are we targeting them? The big problem for the finance committee and the projects committees within the board is people may not believe it when you're doing government that we just throw money around, but we do look at the economics of what's going to be viable, and the payback analysis just doesn't pencil out when you have populations that can exempt themselves, certain changes in legislation, the lawsuits, and the support from the state. Until certain things are settled as far as the septic and mound systems and what they're allowed to construct or not, it ties the hands of the district, so we're not able to serve
get
the
it.
community
I
in
get
that
it.
way.
I get it.
So-
Well, and I think it's easy to lose track of the fact that you all, except for the very, very small amount of money you get from us, your district is self-supporting. You've got to run off the revenues that you collect. So no tax dollars, except for the 60,000 you get from us, no tax dollars go into the sewer district.
And that allows for the partnerships that we're able to do, so that Nathan and Noah are able to do certain works between the two. I think that partnership is just emblematic of even the sign that you have on the wall. I mean, it's beneficial for both groups to work together. So I appreciate the opportunity to work with the district. It's thankless, but I know Nathan's been doing a very good job for us as for the board. So
Yeah.
again,
It's not getting easier.
Yeah.
no, we keep making it more complex, more.
Well, and obviously that system has grown from 150 or 200 connections. I forget what was in project one, but now over 1,000 connections that in some of the pipe and pumps that are in the ground are now closing in on 10 years old.
The maintenance program is, I mean, we're working a lot of overtime right now
Yeah.
just to
Trying to
keep things
maintain
going.
things.
I think bright spot is you got an excellent board. You know, it makes it kind of easy for us as commissioners to work with an excellent board.
Yep.
Because you got the kind of people that bring recommendations to us.
Yeah.
That makes it kind of a no-brainer for some of our decisions. And that's great.
Good. Stan, anything else before we cut these guys loose?
No, I'd just like you to pull out your crystal ball and tell me if you see any changes coming down the road with the SRF grants that we've been able to use. Anticipating anything. I know you've been real successful as far as having engineering done, along with the grant applications, and any changes in that direction that you've seen or anticipate.
So when we didn't get funding for 2025 here, last year, but we ended up having some money left over from Project 5 that we then implemented into engineering, which, in the past, we've come to the commissioners on loans, to get that stuff shovel ready. So we were able to use some extra funds from the previous project to go ahead and engineer those. Which was one of the factors on our grading scale that we were graded low on for not getting funding last year. Another factor is back when we started this with the rates and everything, $92 was about the norm. The state says now that norm is $99. So with us doing our rate study also in and looking at the numbers and stuff, if we're able to get that price up a little bit, the cost up a little bit for it. Two of our big grading scales that we were low on last July, we should be taking care of that by moving that up. So, I'm hopeful that, we can get this next funding. I think our odds are better than they were last year, just because we did a couple things that are gonna help our grading scale. But it's a big question mark when we're talking with government funds, and I know that they're really pushing for lead elimination and things like that, so, we're hopeful. I think that we've done as much as we can, with what we have in front of us to try to get the additional funding for Project 6.
Well, I think it's good. I think you've got the support from the commissioners. All three of us believe in what you're trying to do, so keep up the good work, and thanks for the update, and I think you'll see your funding maintained.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you
Say
both.
your dad so.
Will do. Thank you.
Mark, what have you got for us?
One subdivision.
All right. This is where Stan's reader would come into play. We had a way to project this and put it on the screen for Stan to see.
Super easy one. This is on 27, just south of 200, about not quite a half a mile. It is a 10.688 piece of property. The outside line are there. The only line being drawn is that.
Right in the center, huh?
200 south, right? Yep.
Yeah, 200 south.
Okay.
And I didn't see buildings and just
What do we got on that?
there's some auction signs up on the road, so I think that's where it's.
We noticed it.
So each one's 5 acres, the other one's
Yeah,
5.6.
move, we approve the N and M.
Second that motion, so go ahead.
Nobody starts to put anything on the agenda. I think we can mail it out to the parties involved.
When's that auction coming up?
I'm not sure. I never pay attention to the
The
dates.
signs are small. I can't read it when I'm going by.
I don't know. We,
Is that it for you, Mark?
Yeah, I've got a
yes
business.
and no.
Maybe. Should we move on to the county attorney and see if you need to collaborate on something? Is that what we're looking at?
Yep.
Do.
Okay.
Just got a bid open on demolition
Okay.
of the
Let's-
property on US 224,
Okay,
which we're due today at 10 o'clock.
okay.
And it looks like we've only got one. So we'll see. We expecting more than one?
Well, I hand delivered it to. I know the one that looked at it, but didn't like the note he saw on.
It didn't like what?
That might have
The
disturbed-
note that he saw on the door or the
Oh.
building?
Among other things.
Yeah,
So, my son is one of them that didn't,
yeah.
I gave it to him, but
Okay, this is the contractor's proposal for building demolition, site restoration. Located at 1065 West US Highway 224. It was due today, submitted by Luganville Excavating. And this is for all labor, materials, equipment necessary to complete the work. According to specifications, the bid is $15,230. $15,230.
You take that under advisement?
Yep.
Yeah.
reasonable.
I would say, did you have an estimate or an engineering estimate or anything?
No, that's extremely.
Feels reasonable,
That's a
We
reasonable
just
bid.
did one in Geneva,
right?
and it was 13,
Okay.
and that was not stone.
Yeah, I'd say this
What
is-
was the one
yeah,
done in
this is-
Burn right along 27, I wonder?
Don't know that one.
I move we take the bid of 15,230 under advisement.
Second. Okay, so you-
15,320.
320, I'm sorry. 15,320 is what it is, Mark?
Yeah,
15,320
Okay.
under advisement, Steve.
you wanna
I'll second
scan that and email that to Tony?
Yeah.
Or I can make a copy of it right now if you want.
Whatever you wanna do.
Let's make him a copy.
On the page, I'll-
Stan, any thoughts on that?
No, I think we've gone through every possible option. to avoid condemnation and tearing that down. And I think we've just kind of come to the point where that's the next step that's been court ordered and is reasonable.
Yeah, I agree. So you'll bring that back next week then with a recommendation?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I want to keep moving on that. Mark and Clayton, anything else for us? Is that all, Mark Quinn? Is that all from you?
All I got.
Okay. Mark Berry, Clayton, from your perspective?
Nope, I think that's it.
Just put the finalizing touches, excuse me, on the lease.
The lease for the garage? Okay,
So I should have that here in a week or two.
good deal. Thank you. Shannon, what have you got for us?
Last week, the sheriff and I presented the K-9 comp policy that would change it from paid time off to $8. So I sent that to you guys yesterday. Clayton did review it a couple weeks ago. So I think that they're good.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Okay, and we received that and I had an opportunity to review it, so I appreciate that. Stan, thoughts on that?
It was kind of a little jumbled, but that was could you repeat the numbers and that there's another conversation going on. I couldn't hear the numbers exactly.
Yeah, I don't think, we're looking at this K-9 compensation policy that Shannon's presenting.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, no, I think that sounds like the best way to go instead of using comp time.
Right, those were sent out to us earlier in the week.
Yep.
Need some action on that?
We do. I think we need to adopt that policy. If that's your
I move
preference.
that we accept the recommended policy that Shannon is bringing before us.
Stan, I've been cutting you out of the, let's get you on the board. Do you want to second that motion?
Yeah, I would second that. Yep.
Sorry, we started out without you here and I just kept continuing on like that. My apologies.
Yep, no
Okay, so we
problem.
got motion and a second to adopt the K-9 compensation policy. So that motion passes.
Okay, and then Tony's gonna have something for you to sign as well. And obviously, this is dependent upon council's fiscal approval on the salary ordinance as well. And then Dan and I agreed on an effective date of April 26th. So we got a couple weeks yet.
Stan, would you like me to sign your name via remote? on
Yeah,
that?
that's fine. Yep, just put my stamp on it.
Gotcha.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.
We're at the end of the agenda. Stan, have you got anything for us?
I just had a couple things. One was, my apologies. I know that we as commissioners had approved the structural study and I had signed that and, failed to pass that on to Elevatus. And so I've cleared that up and let them know that that has been approved. So, my apologies on the delay on that, but.
I sent that to him this morning, by the way. He should have that now. So,
Okay. Another thing I didn't know as far as the attorneys, and I don't know if Mark and Clayton are in, they were getting ready to prepare a qualified offer letter to the landowners on 800 North, and I didn't know where we were at with that.
They just stepped out in the hallway, Stan, but as soon as they get back in here, we'll get that from them.
Okay. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up, as far as our mayors and commissioners caucus from the 11 Northeast Indiana counties, are meeting tomorrow, and Adams County Commissioners are hosting that meeting, and that'll be at Adams Memorial Hospital in Classroom A, starting at 11:30. So our featured presenter is none other than our own Nate Roomschlag. I tried to get him to present on our groundhogs, but he wouldn't do it. So he's going to present on our bridge asset management plan and kind of show how he's been able to use that to all of our benefits. So I appreciate that, and I would encourage our attendance at the at the hospital tomorrow at 11:30. So,
Good. I think Doug,
I'm
planning to
planning
be
on-
there.
yeah.
I've got, as you're probably aware, I've got a funeral I need to attend, so I may be a little late, but I will be there. So save me don't eat my pie.
all right.
Stan, can you hear me okay?
Yep, yep.
You might want to follow up with Elevatus. I was talking with Rick Burkholder this morning. There was some structural people there, but no one else has showed up to do some of the evaluation of the courthouse.
Okay, yeah, I know they were using Tom Offerly and he's who they contract with. And so once I let Dave Scholl know that we had all approved that and would be sending that up, he was gonna release that work order to their structural engineer right away, so,
Good.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I apologize for the delay. That was my fault, yeah.
I have nothing, Steve.
Okay. I don't believe I do as well. Anything? EMA, what have you guys got for us? Are you just here just because these meetings are so fun to attend?
That's exactly right.
All right.
With that being said, anyone else, I move that we adjourn.
Anybody else from the public? Okay, Stan, you want to second that motion or you want me to?
I'll second that, yep.
Okay, we're adjourned.
I'm just gonna summarize in one paragraph. They passed it, was going on.
Stan, I think when I click leave meeting, I think you're gonna be out of here. So any last thoughts?
No, apologize for being late, and so thanks for letting me sit in.
Hey,
So-
we'll see. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, yep, very good.
Thanks.
Where was it located? That's on 224, I'm not sure. 224, okay.